locked out for anyway. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Intercounty Podcast, coming to you tonight live again from Clark's Bar. Tonight I'm joined on my right-hand side by Alan Mangan, closest to me, Brendan Shaw, on my left end, Denis Glennon, and then furthest left, Gerry Buckley. Lads, lots of things to talk about since last week, but first thing we will start on is yesterday's football game. Gerry, I'll go to you first of all on it, I suppose. The overall feeling coming out of Cusack Park to me yesterday was we got out of jail, but I suppose we came out of games last year on the other end of those 1 point losses, and so maybe Lady Luck is starting to shine on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the bottom line is we won the game. That's in the record books forever. Tough on Sligo. Would have been a long journey for Sligo people back home after that, but we know those long journeys. We had some of them last year.
Made a few of them.
And, the bottom line is we won the game. Performance wasn't magnificent by any means. We won the game. We showed spirit in the last few minutes when it looked as if we were going to lose. Then it looked as if we were going to draw, and we would think a lot of people would have been happy with the draw. And then Shane Corcoran scored a great point to win the game. So tough on Sligo, but great for Westmeath. A great start. 2 points in the bag. That we looked a couple of minutes ago. We were going to end up with 0 points. So onwards and upwards. Performance not wonderful by any means, but we're in it to win it, and great start.
Yeah, then it's like we had the O'Byrne Cup in here last week, and we were all cock a hoop, and it looked like we were going to be brought down turf with a major bang yesterday. But look, credit to the lads that didn't play well, and I think they know that more than anyone else. But it's what they ground out the winners was the best way of saying it.
Yeah, it's the most important thing, and they're coming from a confidence booster in winning the O'Byrne Cup. So I suppose spirits were high going into the game, and there was expectations of, I suppose, putting in a big performance. But you have to realise that Sligo are not a bad team, and you can't underestimate them. And they were going well themselves in their pre-season competitions, putting it up to all the teams. So they're a good team with good footballers. So that game could have went anywhere, and I think it's a testament to the Westmeath team, because they did grind out a result, and there was a period there where they actually went 1 point. Didn't they go a point down?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And their heads could have went completely down, but in fairness, they stood up and they pushed on, and a young man from Alan's club stood up, as Alan did many a time over the years, and kicked the winning score, which was great for him, because I suppose he's making his debut now at senior inter-county level, as did a good few members of the team that started yesterday. It was great to see the two Bakers on the pitch. I know Senan was struggling with an injury for a long time, and he was on the pitch and did well, and there was a lot of lads that were given a chance there yesterday, and that'll definitely stand to them, because if you look at that division, the teams that are in it, Sligo would be seen as one of the tougher teams, and they got a result against them, and it was a home game as well, and you have to win them, so that's very positive.
We only have 3 out of the 7 games at home, Brendan. We've probably been dealt with the toughest start possibly, because I think next week we're away in Ennis, and I think the following weekend we're away to Down.
Yeah, look, yesterday I suppose a bit of a reality check, I suppose, after the Kildare game, and it was a great result in the finish, and the team showed great character. I have to admire them for that. And Ronan Wallace was off, and they dug it out, and they just kept at it, and that's we had games like that last year, and we were on the wrong side of them, as Gerry said. Look, next week is another tough assignment down in Ennis. If we could get a win down there, it really does give us a great start. And there would be some concerns yesterday. We didn't win the middle third. Let's be honest about it. It was they pressed us very hard on the kick-outs, and we struggled to move the ball. But we played a very good style in the last 10 minutes of the first half, and we kind of fell asleep then at the start of the second half, which was a bit of a worry. So I'm sure Mark McHugh has plenty to think about this week and trying to plan for next week and maybe get a few things better than they did yesterday.
Yeah, and I think, listen, he's after game interview, like he was very much aware of that, and we ended up on him with a very purple patch in the last 8 or 9 minutes of the first half, and we scored 1-5 without respond. The second half, we only scored a total of 5 points, but we got 2 of them in injury time.
Yeah, well, listen, you're after saying that. It's after been alluded to a couple of times there. This time last year, we were losing them games. And we ground out a victory. We probably did lose the middle third, especially in the second half, but at the same time, when we needed to win the kick out at the end, we won the kick out, we got the ball in quick, we got the score, and we got out with a victory. If you were to ask everyone here or everyone on the Westmeath management team, what would you rather do? Would you rather play brilliant football and win the match, or would you rather play not so good but still win the match? I think there's lots to work on. You're going into training this week saying, right, we won the game. Maybe people say to get out of jail, but we were 8 points up at one stage. Like, we probably got out of jail slightly at the end, but at the same time, we were 8 points up in that game and we let them back into it. That had a lot got to do with Ronan Wallace going off. Like, we said here last week that if we were to lose Ronan Wallace or Luke Loughlin, we're going to struggle a bit in the area. We lost Ronan Wallace. We did struggle for 15-20 minutes after he went off, but we still ground out a victory. And that, I would say, fair play to the lads. They grounded out. They won the ball that was needed to be won at the end. Got the ball in quick. Great score from Shane. That'll be a big boost for him going forward, because he'd be a confidence player and he'd love things like that. And it can only bode well for us going forward.
Yeah, Gerry, we had a familiar name on the pitch yesterday, unfortunately in a black jersey, and that's Pat Spillane Jr. And he came on, he made a huge difference when he came on. It looked like, for all intents and purposes, he was going to swing the game in their favour.
Yeah, I'll tell you gassing about that. I don't know the chap's name, but there was a Sligo chap just to my left in the press box. And when he came on, he says to me, this fella's no good, he says to me. And after he kicked his first 2-pointer, I said, he doesn't look too bad to me. And then when he kicked the second 2-pointer, I won't repeat what I said. I didn't wish him well, and it put them a point up, as Denis said earlier, and it looked as if it had won the game for them. He's the image of the father in lots of ways he played, the way he carries himself and the kind of solo run and everything else, but didn't look too bad a player to me now. And he did a lot of damage. The lads said we were cleaned out a little bit around the middle. We're still talking at Westmeath about colleagues of the two lads here like Rory and Shocko at midfield. We don't have a Rory and Shocko anymore, so we have to make do with what we have. And we were cleaned out a bit, and you won't always get away with that, but as you rightly said, we won the ball that counted at the end. And given how poor some of the we were for long periods, you talked about the purple patch, it's just marvellous to have got that win. We'd have a different countenance here totally if we had lost the game by or even drawn it. So to get the win, given a lot of the things that went wrong, I think it's a great boost. And, if we had the podcast this time last night, I might have been a bit negative. Now I'm very positive about it, because we have 2 points in the bag. We won't be facing Sligo again. And as the boys said, Sligo are a decent side. It's only 2 short years ago we went down to Sligo. Ironically, we got promoted that day because the other result went our way. But they beat us well 2 years ago. Yeah. They beat us well. Like, they looked, I think it was 5 or 6 points or something in the end, and deservedly so. So, 2 years later, we've beaten them. They're out of the way. It's 2 points in the bag, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, and they were under new management as well this year. Eamon O'Hara and Denis Glennon coming in after Tony McNamee been there for a long time. So they were always going to get a kick out of, local management as well for them. So, I suppose our lads went into it there, and, pressure was on them a little bit after winning the Byrne Cup as well. So it was, credit to them, and they will build on it. And Alan said it, like Jack Connaughton and goals making his debut. You Shane Corkin coming on. Good to see Boydu back. Good to see Sam McCartan back.
Coming back from injuries. Well, it's great to see Sam back, in particular, because he does an awful lot of work around the middle of the field. And I think, as Gerry said there, midfield is a problem area we have, and it has been for quite some time. especially with the new rules the way they are in place, if we can get lads that are able to field the ball around the middle field and get the ball quicker into the forwards, especially coming championship and the ground hardens and stuff, that can be beneficial for Westmeath. So it's something that the management are going to have to look at seriously, because what happened at the weekend wasn't good enough for Westmeath going forward. As Gerry said, look, we got the win and the win is out of the way, and that's a positive thing, but we have to be thinking ahead, because there's going to be tougher games to come.
Yeah, like starting next week, Brendan, down in Ennis, it's going to be like Clare were unlucky, will feel themselves unlucky to come out in Newry on the wrong end of a game that they led for long periods of. So, they'll be hoping, to turn that around next week, and knowing that if they lose it and they're down 2 points, well, they're probably out of a promotion challenge then.
Every game now is crucial. I think Clare scored 19 points up in Newry, so I mean that's a fair score, and we all know what down quality is. So Clare in their own home ground next Sunday is going to be a difficult task. I'm not sure. I think 2 years ago we played Clare in Cusack Park, and we were very lucky to get a win. It was a fortuitous win, in fact.
Absolutely.
And some might say we didn't deserve it that day.
I think they were talking about a goal that they didn't get, wasn't that what it was?
Yeah. But look, as Gerry said, we've the win in the bag now. Confidence will be high. They can work on. They have this week now to work on that middle third, and that's something that it's always good to have come out of a game like that and knowing that you have a bit more improvement and a bit more to get out of the team. So I suppose it'll be a concern that Ronan Wallace is injured. But a positive is that Sam McCartan is back. So look, maybe one cancels the other out, but. It's a tough task going to Ennis now next Sunday.
Yeah, Alan, Mark spoke after the game about the benefit of having a big panel, and look, and I suppose that's the positive side. And management is always going to say that they're never dependent on 1 to 15 or 1 to 24. It's now 1 to 36 or whatever he carries on the panel, and through this league, I think every lad is going to get game time in it.
Oh yeah, there's going to be lots of game time for lads. We also have to remember that Ray Kennellan has played very little football in the last number of months. I think he only played bit part. Did he play? He played the O'Byrne Cup final, but he didn't play any of the rest of the games before that. So he's going to be getting back into. We'll get more out. We'll obviously get more out of him. We'll get more out of Sam McCartan. He was only back the other day for the first time. So these players are all just going to get better. They're two lads. I know we mentioned Luke and Ronan last weekend.
In one of his quieter days, but then Luke now is going to draw the headlines, and he's going to be marked.
Yeah, of course he is, and sure, and he's going to be out for it. Sure, he's marked in Westmeath every time he goes out. He's marked with the club every time he goes out. No more than lads like Dennis and these lads back in the day. They're going to be marked and double marked at times, and sure, he's just going to have to put up with it, and he's used to it. So there'll be no problem there. He'll figure that one out. There's no hassle there. But at the same time, Sam McCartan and Ray Kennellan are two big players for us. We need them on the pitch. We need them 100% fit. Wally, we need to do whatever we can this week to make sure he's back. If you were to ask me at the start of the league, the first 3 games, if we were to get 4 points out of the first 3 games, I'd be very happy.
I think so too.
But it's a big game down in Clare this weekend, because if you don't win, it puts extra pressure on the following weekend against Down. So. Listen, at the end of the day, we've loads of things to work on from last weekend. Mark McHugh would be quite happy getting a win, getting out of there with 2 points, and with loads of things and loads of work this week to get things right, so that we're even better the following weekend.
Yeah, and plenty of positive yesterday as well. In fairness, like Johnny Lynham, I see him on the team of the week for this week as well. 2 great goals, coming in as he did, back to form of 2 years ago, and he scored the 2 goals above in the league final to win the league final and that. And another player that missed it last year. And as you know, you step away from intercounty football for a year or two, it's hard to get back to the pitch of it straight away again, isn't it?
Yeah, the level it's definitely a big step up, at fitness levels, and the players you're on are every bit as good as you are, so you have to be in the top of your game. It was good to see him get a goal. He got 2 goals actually in the match, and the last time he did that, as you said, was the league final when he was man of the match that day. So that's good for Westmeath to have him back going forward, and it's very important in league that you get momentum. The lads are coming from winning the O'Byrne Cup. They've won their first game. They have momentum behind them. Like if they had lost the game last weekend, and they were looking forward to this weekend, which is going to be a tough game away. And say, for instance, Ronan Wallace wasn't playing, it'd be a tough week training to be mentally right for that match. They're in a far better position than they could have been, So that's very good for Westmeath seniors going forward, that they are in that position and they have players coming back. As Alan said there, Ray hadn't played too much football, but still at the very end of the game, he was up there pushing. He set up the equalising score, I think, as well. So, he's only going to get better going forward. So, look, if we're in a good place, a much better place than we could have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
With 5 minutes to go in the game.
Well, look, it's nice to be here talking about coming out on the right side of a 1 point win instead of on a 1 point loss. Also next week, lads, the senior hurling team making their intercounty debut campaign. A bye week this week, which maybe wasn't the one that we would have liked to have. Probably be nicer to have that bye week after a couple of games. Brendan, I know you're involved in some capacity with the hurling team. Announcement of Johnny Bermy from Castletowngagan as the team captain yesterday as well. So that's good for the panel. Johnny is probably one of the most experienced players that's in there, and quite unassuming fella from what I know of him, but does he's talking on the field. So how do you think the hurling is how are they going from what you've seen of them? We really only got one competitive game. Like in Kerry went up to Derry last Saturday and put up a big score, so we're up against it going down to Tralee. Yeah,
look, it's a journey into the unknown, I suppose. It's a whole new setup from top to toe. There's Johnny B is the eldest player, I think, on the panel, so that tells quite a lot. So there's a lot of younger players there. I've been to a few of the trainings, not them all, but there's great enthusiasm, great work rate. There's a great spirit in the group. You can't fault them on that. But look, it's a results-based game, as we all know. And going down to Kerry next weekend is a big test. They had a good win against Derry last Sunday, put up a big score. So we're going into an unknown next Saturday. We played one competitive game. You could say we had a couple of challenge games, a competitive game against Dublin in the Walsh Cup. And to be honest, I was very impressed with their work rate and their application on the day. Dublin had, I think, 8 or 9 of the team that played in the All-Ireland semi-final last year playing. And we worked extremely hard and, okay, they got away from us a bit at the end, but, it was the first time for a lot of those guys putting on the Westmeath jersey, and they acquitted themselves very well. So I'm hopeful for the year. There was a bit of doom and gloom after last year, so we have to give these lads a chance. And I'm looking forward to next Saturday or next Sunday, and we have a better record nearly in Tralee against Kerry than we do in Cusack Park. So look, it's a journey that I'm sure I hope a lot of our supporters will make to support the team. They need that support. So it's a exciting time ahead for them.
Yeah, and Gerry, Westmeath have been up before, we've been down before, we've come back up again. There was a lot of doom and gloom, as Brendan says, when lads were announcing retirement. Every time you seem to put on Instagram, there was somebody else announcing that they were retiring. But look, we've plenty of young lads coming through. Kevin O'Brien knows a lot of them young lads from under 20. So I think there's going to have to be a little bit of patience shown. But it would be nice to get off with a win on Sunday down in Tralee, and get the show up and running for them.
It would, yeah. I won't be in Tralee, I'll be in Ennis, please God. I've gone to Tralee the last few times we played them, but I have a friend down in Clare, and I promised them the next time we played Clare in hurling or football, I'd go down and stay. So I'll be at the football, won't see the hurling. Can't, unfortunately, be two places at the one time. But they had a noteworthy win, Kerry, against Derry. We've struggled against Derry often enough and got a bad beating from them, I remember, under Brian Hanley, so we wouldn't be taking Derry for granted. And any team that hockey's Derry can't be too bad, and you never know what to expect with Kerry. Some years they're strong, other years they're weak, but I think Kerry at their best down in Tralee, they'll take a bit of beating, and it's a tough ask for Kevin with the new look team. We spoke last week, we emphasised the need for patience, and I think the Westmeath Gaels will have patience with Kevin and the management team, give them a chance to settle in with all these new players. We've lost some serious hurlers, like the lads who've retired, or moved on. Like, a lot of them were marquee players for a long number of years, so it's going to be hard to replace them. So we have to have patience, but it's certainly a big performance will be needed in Tralee to win that match. And in some ways, given that Laois, I think, are the standout favourites for that group, if we lose to Kerry, you're already in a big struggle to make the second spot in that division, I think. So it's a very important game, and it's, with the exception of playing Laois, it's just about as tough as you can get for a first match, I think.
Yeah, I think. Alan, you know a lot of those young lads that are on that panel and have come in as well. You've been seeing them in your role as Castleingaga manager. You obviously have some of the players under your own watch. A lot of good hurlers in that team, a lot of good young hurlers that, with proper coaching and, you know, there's good potential there, I think, with this group.
No, absolutely, and that's the way we have to go now. When you have the group of lads that have stepped away that gave unbelievable service to Westmeath, they're gone now. They'll row in behind in terms of supporting the team, I'm sure. But like Kevin and Brendan and the lads that are with them, they're just going to have the full support of the county and make sure that we get the best out of these young players. It could take, as I said here last week, we might not get out of this division. And so be it. If we don't, we don't. It's all about consolidating our position in the Joe McDonagh for this year, as far as I'm concerned, and really get these lads ready to be very, very competitive next year or even the year after, because it's not, we can't keep switching and changing managers. It's just not feasible to keep doing it. We need to give Kevin the full control now of getting the best out of these young players he can possibly, and it's going to take time. We've loads of lads that are there this year for the first time, or really coming into them. They might be there a couple of years, but really coming in and going to be starting these competitive games that they're not used to. So we give these lads time to get themselves up to a level. I think we played Kerry in the last round of the league last year, last round of Joe McDonagh, and won down there. I think five of the 6 forwards were under 21, as far as I know. If you take Mark Cunningham, David Williams, David O'Reilly, Peter Clark, and the last lad, Darren McCormack, yes. Yeah. So we had 5 lads that were under 21 starting in that forward line. Okay, they're not all going to play this weekend. There's obviously lads injured. But at the same time, we just need to get a performance. If the result doesn't go our way, so be it. But once their performances are incrementally getting better and better every week, that's what we want to see from this Westmeath team.
Brendan, you probably know more, and you've seen, you know, the management in action. Like Brendan Murta, we all familiar with, but Damien Coleman has come in with a good reputation. Have you seen his influence on them yet, or what way are they?
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, Damien is a top coach, and he has, you know, been involved with a lot of college teams and that, so he's well used to coaching at the top level. And these lads, like, they're all very young. They're learning. You know, every day is a learning day for them at the moment. Like, and they're very enthusiastic, and the whole setup, I have to say, Kevin has done a great job with the whole setup. It's very professional. Everything works well, and Kevin has gelled it all together, and it's just a breath of fresh air. And everybody is enthused, and there's positivity. There's, you know, that's really important, like, for the team to have that. And look, nobody's in any doubt about next Sunday being it's a tough start to the league. But look, those lads will go down there, and they're going to play, you know, with real passion, and I'm hoping that they'll, as Alan says, a performance is really what we want.
Before we leave the hurling and move on, I just want to ask you a question, and I don't know whether this is last year we on this podcast were very critical of the level of fitness of our hurling team. From what you've seen, has training been hard? Have they been put through?
Yeah, I mean, the training has been tough. Good. But I suppose a measure was the game against Dublin. We finished the game very well. We stuck with Dublin right to the end. And Dublin are a seriously conditioned team. Like, there's some guys on the road there a good few years have been involved, you know, with top club teams, and these guys, you know, our lads were well able for them, and I was, you know, that's their S&C and the training, the fitness is good.
Good, yeah. Well, that's, I think, as I said, it was well known we were critical on this forum, so that's good. That's good to see, and look, we'll give them credit. We look forward to them, giving a good account of themselves. Brilliant if we can get a win, but Kevin is there, and I think he's there for the long haul, and that whole management. Ollie Baker, I think, is involved in helping out and stuff as well. So again, another man with huge experience.
Yeah, Ollie
as well.
is there as a performance coach, and just to, I suppose, steer the guys, through games and help them along. They're inexperienced, and they need that bit of guidance.
They definitely need it as well, with the likes of Jogger retiring and stuff like that. They need someone that has been at the highest level and performed at the highest level. So seeing Ollie in there is great. Just when before you go on from it, and I know the hurling wouldn't be my expertise in that, but I was critical at times when I was speaking about the gym work and stuff that I noticed about. What I have actually noticed in the last few months about the hurlers is they're all coming in doing gym sessions together. They're all working out, and you can even see there's as you said, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
There seems to be a togetherness with this group of players. They're all coming in together at the same time, working out together, pushing things on, which is very, very good to see. And that's just from an outsider looking in. I've noticed that, so I think it's very positive.
That's very true, Dennis.
Yeah.
There's great teamwork and great spirit among the group, and that's a credit to Kevin to instill that in the players, and it's a big thing to have in a team, to have that spirit in a team.
Yeah, well, it's if you have it, and you have players moving it on, then it's brilliant. I know those are young lads.
Well, it's like anything. You're spending that much time. Myself and Dennis would know from playing. You're spending that much time with these lads. You have to be sort of living in one another's pockets, because you're with each other 3 times a week on the pitch and maybe 2 or 3 times a week in the gym. So you need a bit of unity there. And once players are united and doing things together, like I know we talk about discipline and drinking, but we used to, even when we were socialising, used to go out together. Used to be always together, and it unified us more than anything else. You can go and you can go on as many trips away and do this and that and the other, but when you have lads that are even socialising together, that makes a bond in a team. And these lads are all around, like there's no real age gap between many of them anymore. They're all in between 20 and 29, and that's what you need. You need them lads to start knitting it together, and it seems to be going the right way, and let's hope this weekend the results might even go our way as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Wishing the lads all the best of luck as they do the senior footballers. Brendan, I want to go back to just something I know I spoke to you earlier in the day about. Our new sponsor made his appearance, competitive, probably of real competitive debut on the jerseys on Sunday yesterday in Cusack Park. The other thing we didn't mention, we also have 2 sleeve sponsors. Now, sleeve sponsoring to me is a fairly recent thing that has come in on it.
Yeah, I think there was a rule change about 3 years ago, and it was a thing that was passed to Congress to allow counties to have multiple sponsors on the same jersey. So generally, as we all know, there's a main sponsor, and then these sleeve sponsors, and possibly even one on the back. Some counties have that. So that's, I suppose, to get a sponsor like I think we have O'Brien
Motor Group
Motors and the Village Barn.
Yeah.
So those 2 sponsors are on our the sleeves. So it gives those sponsors a bit of visibility at our games, and rightly so.
Yeah. Okay, we have, as I think in every sport, if you look at soccer, rugby, whatever, there's always a main front of shirt sponsor, and then you have the other sponsors get mentioned. Look, good to have all those sponsors. And the more you have, the more money that's coming in to help the county board and help the team prepare, the better it is for everyone. That's just something I want to just go hit back on. Lads, I want to go back to the football and the new rules. And this morning on Radio 1, I think we had Jack O'Connor on about the whole thing of the moving the ball forward for the indiscretion of 45 metres. I think it's affected some of the games yesterday, and we've seen it in the club championship as well. Is it too severe of a punishment? For somebody doesn't take the ball off you, or the referee deems that you didn't hand it back, or you acted unsportingly. Is it a rule that's there that needs to be looked at again, or What's your feeling on it, especially you two boys that are playing?
Yeah, it's probably a bit too strict because you're basically given a free score really if you're close enough to goal when it happens and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be overly fond of that rule, to be honest. I think it is probably too critical.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Sure, it's ridiculous that you just get a ball and it could be a lad standing inside in the 14 on his own, and you're saying, "Here, sure, go on, kick it into him there."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. I do agree that if he throws away the ball, or if he moves it away, by all means bring it up 45, 50 metres then. But to have to run back as quick as you can, like they say, oh, we got off Australian rules, but that's not actually true, because Australian rules hand pass the ball back, and they can hand pass it 20 foot in the air. Once it's landing beside them, they just catch it and play on. Our lads have to physically go and put the ball into their hand and let them play away. I think it's a ridiculous rule. It makes no sense.
Yeah, look, I think I heard the interview this morning, Ray, and I think Roscommon scored a point yesterday, a 2-pointer from such a where the referee deemed that the player didn't hand the ball back to Roscommon, and Roscommon scored a 2-pointer to draw the game. I think, but he also referenced the club semi-final in Munster, or the final between St Finbarrs and Dingle, and there was a crucial decision. One of the Gainies was kicked the 2-pointer to win the game. As what Jack was making the argument that, you know, rather than hand the ball to the player, the ball should be placed on the ground. And there is a little bit of a tactical from teams now of maybe slapping the ball out of a guy's hand, and the referee thinks, oh, he's not, the opposition player is not handing the ball back, and the player has been, the ball has been brought forward 50 metres. And, you know, these are crucial decisions in big games that are being decided by. I think it's a little bit fussy, a little bit now, that this rule it needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jerry, I think we had we one of them yesterday in Mullingar where the referee brought the ball on, or had we a couple of different occasions? I think we might have had them. It seems to be very severe penalty, and I suppose it's going to take the likes of Jack O'Connor, these high profile managers, to highlight it, to get Jim Gavin and co to go back and look at it. And I know Jack O'Connor is probably playing the Q Kerry man as well, and getting into him. Fitzmaurice is here as well on it.
Yeah. I think Brendan stole my thunder on that. I felt from day one, you know, once you place the ball there should be enough. But I'm actually reading Mark O'Shea's book at the moment to bring back memories for the boys. It's as much about Paddy as it is about Mark himself. But I've no problem mentioning this because it's named in the book. He mentions Kevin McLaughlin of Mayo was a dab hand at, you know, he said he'd be under serious problems now with the new rules. A great man to kind of delay tactics and pretend he was kind of moving out of the way and stall the whole thing, and he said he'd love him to be playing under the new rules now. So yeah, I think it's too severe. The new rules have been a great boost to the game, there's no question about that, but I still think there are a couple of things need tweaking. For one, we're going off a little bit here, I would have gone with the 4-point goal, I have to say, and there's still a lot of hand passing. It can be monotonous enough still, like as a team at the start of the game. Yes, it was quite monotonous, you know, Westmeath retreated and Sligo were given possession of the ball. It's hard enough to look at that, but in general obviously the rules have been great. But the specific point you made, I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's far too punitive, and I think if you just leave the ball on the ground, it should be more than sufficient.
It's at the discretion of the referee. Like, to say 50 metres, we played a game against Cavan last year in Cusack Park. Sure, someone was fouling 21. He nearly brought it to the far side. I thought he was never going to stop going forward with the ball. I was thinking he literally went nearly 100 metres rather than go 50. He just kept going, and even the Cavan lads couldn't believe he was going as far forward as he was. But it really has to be looked at. But in saying that, the new rules have absolutely made football come back to where you really want to watch it. I think, I could be wrong, but I think the Division 1 football and Division 1 hurling, I think the football nearly outscored the hurling matches in every game over the weekend. Which is, like 3 years ago, we were looking at teams winning 7-6 and 8-5, and oh man, it was borderline. Like, people were starting to stop going to games, but you saw the crowd in Cusack Park yesterday. The difference in that and 4 years ago is chalk and cheese.
You get to see as well the long distance kicking, which you hadn't seen for a while. Like, even you look at Luke's one there in the Burn Cup final from outside, you know, to win the game, and that I thought was brilliant. But the other side of it is, you're not seeing as many players take on the goal. Whereas Jerry said, if you made it a 4-pointer,
might be more
We
attractive.
have lads driving through, yeah.
Before I leave yesterday's game, lads, for viewers at home, we announced that we were going to have a vote every week for our player of the week, and it's going to be done via Instagram poll. A winner will be announced on Wednesday, but our nominees today, the 3 players we've nominated for you to vote on: Jonathan Lynham, Sam McCartan and Luke Loughlin. So get voting on that, check it on it. I think the poll is up there for it, so we can do that. So get going. It'll be highlighted later on tonight as well on the Instagram and on the social media forums as well. Gerry, moving forward as well then, quick word on Coláiste Mhuire, the senior hurlers beaten in the semi-final last week. Probably, 2 goals the difference in the end, but put up a gallant performance and a great achievement to get to a Leinster semi-final in their first year in hurling.
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It was played on one of these 4G pitches. I don't know much of a difference between 4G and 3G. It was an artificial pitch down in Carlow. Miserable conditions. Wonderful facility, but no shelter for fans. I felt for people trying to huddle away from the rain. But in terms of the performance, at one stage in the second half, 19 minutes into the second half, Coláiste Mhuire were trailing by 5 goals, 5-11 to 11 points, and we had all visions of kind of 7-19 to 11 points finish or something. But they brought it back to 2 goals. At one stage, the margin down to 5 points. Did they ever look like they were going to win it? No. But I thought, in terms of playing to the final whistle, which is all you can ever ask of a team, they certainly did that. And Micheál Lawler has done great work there. He's a gentleman to deal with. And himself and his backroom team deserve enormous credit, getting to a Leinster semi-final, scoring 3-14 against Kilkenny CBS, fighting to the final whistle, beaten by a better team. The trick now is to be able to stay in Leinster A. But there seems to be a conveyor belt of lads coming through. Now the problem is you have a lot of dual players. Christo Ormsby got injured in the football and wasn't playing in the hurling, and the hurling's over now, so we wish their footballers well, and that anyone that was carrying a knock will be available for the football. But it's difficult for a school to compete with a Kilkenny school where football doesn't count and you have problems with dual players. But I think in terms of their first year at a senior A, it was a phenomenal achievement, and they leave that competition with heads held high.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think though, if you look at that, I'm not going to say I didn't see too many games, but I watched the game last Wednesday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I watched the game last Wednesday, and it was very, I don't know, it was very hard on Westmeath to have to go down there and play the game on a 3G pitch or a 4G pitch, artificial surface, when we're not used to it. Like, I know they train on their own school's pitch, so they don't be training on any AstroTurf or anything like that, and it makes, like, there's no doubt Coláiste Mhuire are a big, strong physical side. It would definitely have helped them to be playing out in grass where the game was just a little bit slower. I think if you see some of the goals or nearly every goal that Kilkenny scored, it was done through the ball just zipping. That wouldn't happen on a grass pitch. And you were talking earlier on that St. Kieran's of Kilkenny refused to play their semi-final in that. So it's hard on Coláiste Mhuire. I really think they would have been an awful lot closer, if not even win the game, if they got them on a grass pitch.
Yeah, I suppose the old thing, the big teams, Kieran's and Good Counsel were to play the semi-final the same day. The AstroTurf was available in Carlow. It could easily have been used. It wasn't used. They refused to play it. I thought Mullingar were also penalised by having to go to within 20 minutes of Kilkenny. So, lots of Bay fans and both, but I think Micheál Lawler deserves great credit, as Gerry said. Like, for that bunch of lads to be in the top 4 in hurling in Leinster in A, and in the top 2 in football, maybe even top 1.
Yeah, and let's not forget, en route to that semi-final, in knockout matches, they beat Coláiste Owen from Stillorgan, and they beat the combined Offaly schools.
Yeah.
That was some year.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward now, and I see recently that it has been moved into Mullingar, which is a great thing to see. And all Westmeath, the Brother Basketball Cup final is going to be on here. I think it's on the 7th of February. I think it was just Saturday week in QC Park. Now that's going to be a humdinger, and that'll bring a huge crowd into TG QC Park.
Yeah, massive crowd, Ray, and a fitting venue for the final. And,
Yeah,
and rightly so. 2 Westmeath teams. I think it's been many years since two Westmeath teams. Jerry, you know that.
1983 was the last one,
Yeah, so I mean, it's I saw both. I saw both teams in action this year, and I'm very impressed with the quality of the footballers on both sides. There's some really top footballers for on both teams. So I think we're in for a real treat now. And look, it can only bode well for Westmeath football going forward to have these teams competing at the very top level. You know, there's plenty of future stars there, I believe.
Yeah. The Maris coming through on their side wrong. Again, young McHugh seems to be a huge talent. Young Henson playing as well. So I don't know many more of them, but we know
Sean
Whittaker.
Whittaker's there. Yeah, I think actually that might be their complete full forward line. So that's a potent one that's going to put a full back line on their toes. You know, we have Will Scahill then, of course, is probably the shining light here in Coláiste to Weir. But it, as you say, Brendan, should help Kenny McGinley with the under-20s, because most of those lads are above minor now at this stage.
I was actually at the under-20 challenge match the other day against Galway. The two lads played the two corner forwards, two excellent footballers, James McHugh and Will Scahill, and they really complemented one another throughout the game. We're just blessed that we have the two of them playing in the maroon and white. But they're two fantastic prospects going forward, absolutely.
Very good. We look forward to that one. We had the cup in last year, Jerry, so one way or the other I think we'll get a winning team in here this year as well. Yeah. So we're going to be on a winner one way or the other.
I'll tell you a little story on that now, makes me feel very old. My father, Lord rest him, taught in St. Finian's, and Finian's were a top team for many years. And the last time they won it was 1966. And I was 9 years of age, and I was allowed to go into the dressing room afterwards and hold the cup. That's 60 years ago, and that scares me now. And it was the very same cup. It wasn't called the Brother Boss Cup. It was the very same cup, always. But Finian's were one of the top teams then, and they've gone way back, and they're playing D football. And again, it just shows you at the time, Coláiste to Weir would have been playing B football, like the way that school has come along. There's fantastic work going on in that school, really.
Yeah, I think, Jerry, I'm going to make myself feel old here as well, because I think I was part of the first team that went from B
to A.
I think we played, if memory serves me correct, under Sean Cleary, we went up to Port Halton and Navan to play Gormanstown. And that was a big thing, because Joe Lennon was teaching in Gormanstown, and Sean Cleary and him would have known each other. So that was part. We had won a junior B the year before, we moved to senior A then the following year, and they're still there now.
Just the link with Thirds Pass with Dean McNicholas managing the team, so it's good that even our coaches are Westmeathmen as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that has the potential to be one of the matches of the year. Okay, it's a pity it's not a little bit later in the year when the pitch might be in a better condition or whatever, and their pitches might be in better, not singling out TG Cusick Bar, but on a good ground that would be a cracking match.
Yeah.
One last thing before we finish up tonight, I want to talk about, there was a meeting of all the club secretaries, chairmen, and I think some of the players were brought into it last Friday night. I think it was in the Park Hotel, and there was lots of things discussed on it, one of them being the format for the championships. But another thing that was discussed, Brendan, is this thing of, do we move the minor grade back to under 18?
Well, I suppose there was a few motions submitted to convention in December, and last Friday night was an opportunity for a discussion on them. There was no decisions being made last Friday night. There was just a discussion on them. At the moment, an 18-year-old in this county cannot play adult football or hurling. There's a decoupling, as it's called, and that championship, the minor championship, runs itself independently of the adult grade. And there's a lot of clubs out there, and they feel that there's a demographics issue in the county with some clubs, that they feel they need the 18-year-olds to supplement their adult teams and to survive, and that's an understandable concern that they have. So that was, I suppose, the discussion last Friday night, was to tease that out and see. Some clubs, particularly the junior clubs, they think that they believe they need the 18-year-olds to for their adult teams, but that creates another problem in that you know, an 18-year-old then at the moment could be playing a juvenile competition and an adult competition, and there's a huge challenge with fixtures there, and you can't have an 18-year-old playing, you know, on a Thursday night and then playing again on the Saturday, you know, or
the weekend,
within a short time frame. So, you know, we had this has been an old chestnut that's been banging around for a few years now, and we were, you know, back a few years ago we were operating at 17, 15 and 13, and a lot of clubs felt at the time that, you know, that was poor for retention of players when they moved into up to 18 years of age. And the county, we discussed this over many meetings over the last few years, and we decided to go with the even age groups, and that has become a feature across the country. In fact, there's not too many. A lot of the counties have gone back to the even age groups now, and there is whisperings of, and this is something that probably will gather a bit of momentum, about moving the county to under 18.
Back to 18 again.
You know, and this idea of having the minor final in front of the All Ireland final is you know, a lot of people feel very strongly about it. But going back to last Friday night, there was a very healthy discussion on it, and I suppose the CCC now have to sit down and propose, make I suppose a judgment on it. But ultimately, the clubs will decide whether this decoupling will remain or not. It's hard to know where that'll end up. I think there's a cohort that's becoming bigger and bigger every year. They want the 18-year-old to play at adult level, and you know, it's going to be a hot potato there for a while.
Yeah, like I'm sure that like one of the big things for, you know, the not allowing them to play is the whole thing of player burnout. Now, I'll ask the two boys here on my left and my right, when did you first play adult hurling or football?
I played my first county final when I was 16 for Terrace Pass in 2000, and for me it helped me develop as a player. I wouldn't see it as overkill at all, to be honest, because you're young, you're nibble, you want to be out there, you want to be playing. You're as well playing a match as be down training somewhere. And at the moment, every young lad is training Tuesday, Thursday, a match Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's going on regardless of whether they're playing senior or whether they're playing minor. Like you were talking about the small clubs. I know Terrace Pass, if they didn't have me when I was 16, we might not have got to county final that year.
Yeah, you're for numbers.
I'm looking at Shandona there. If Will Scahill was there allowed to play senior football for Shandona, you could be thinking these boys are, you know, in a lot better position to win the championship that they're in. And it does make a big difference to the smaller clubs. It wouldn't affect the likes of Lomans or Mullingar Shamrocks, the big town teams that have big numbers. But for the small clubs to have players that are physically able to play senior football, I think you'd have to, because it will help their development. It helped me progress. That when 2004 came around, I played senior level for 3 or 4 years with my club, you know, and I took the slaps and took the hits, and I knew what I was prepared for.
Yeah, you were seasoned.
I was well seasoned at that stage, yeah.
Well, I agree with Denis. I played same age as Denis was when he played in his. I played with you, Ray. I was only 16. Played with no, I was playing in goals. It was
that was hurling.
But it was hurling, yeah. So like, but
there was no one getting in the slap, you know.
No, there was no one getting in top of me. But at the same time, I think that I have no problem with under 17s not playing. But I think if you're an 18-year-old, you should be allowed to play. The thing about players. Now, this is just my opinion.
Yeah, that's all.
I'm only just you've been asked, and everyone's going to have a different opinion, and sure, that's what's good about discussions, is that not everyone's going to be thinking the same. But I think if you're 18 and your minor team play, if you're minor, you play. That has to get your full attention. You're not playing a minor match because you might be playing senior or intermediate at the weekend. But it's up to your manager in the senior team or the intermediate team or whatever you're playing to look after that player. Like we're all, like when I was managing Terrace Pass, for instance, Denis was injured a few times. We just didn't play him. You know what I mean? Like you weren't going to throw Denis out and get him hurt worse than he already was. And Denis was in his mid-20s at that stage when I was doing that. But like you have to give the management teams in the clubs a bit of respect that they're going to be well able to look after this player. It's all about player welfare, but I'm pretty sure the club can look after the player as well. It is a difficult one. There is fixtures that need to be looked at and stuff like that. Maybe moving the minor championship back to a Tuesday or a Wednesday night might be the best thing, and swap them both under 16 on a Friday, Thursday or Friday, that it's gone further back away from the weekend or whatever. But listen, it's going to, as Brendan said, it's going to come down to a vote with the clubs, and I'm pretty sure it'll be an awful lot closer a vote than people might think.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jerry, you'd have seen a lot of young players coming through, and I think back the years myself, some young lads at 16 and 15 even playing adult. I'm going to go local. And remember, like Pat Bradley, playing at a very young age for club, county, whatever else, and like these players, if they're going to come through, they're going to come. I think playing games personally is not going to stop their development.
No, I'd be all for an 18-year-old allowed play. I mean, the fellow we all know here very well, Seamus Conroy. I saw him play minor and senior for Westmeath in the championship the same day in 1971 against Meath in Tullamore. He took off the number 6 minor jersey and replaced it with a number 4 senior jersey and didn't look out of place. Now, he was a well-built fella, Seamus, but I'd have no problem with 18-year-olds playing, to be honest with you. But I have a lot of sympathy for fixture makers and all the complications involved. It's, God of all roads, it's an impossible task, fellas charged with fixture making. But in direct answer to your question, I'd have no problem with 18-year-olds. I also liked the idea. I'm involved at the moment of just organising a reunion to 1995 minors, maybe a year on from what possibly should have been done through no fault of anyone, a 30-year anniversary. Like, that was a wonderful, wonderful day in Croke Park, the minor match, the precursor to the senior. I liked minors as under 18s, and I liked the minor final before the senior final, particularly for the likes of Westmeath, who seldom, they were never in a senior final. But it was a wonderful occasion. That it would have been a wonderful occasion whether it was played in Ballygo backwards, but it made it special to see Damien Gavin lifting the cup in Croke Park, and I'd like to see that being brought back, to be honest with you.
Brendan, I know another thing that was discussed on Friday night was the format for the I think it's just the football championships they're looking at, because there is talk coming down the line from Congress that they're going to push back the All-Ireland Championships a couple of weeks, which will shorten then the club year. So there's a discussion going on at the moment around the format of the Senior Football Championship, am I right?
That's true, Ray.
And I think intermediate, all the football championships?
Yeah, so
okay.
at the moment we have groups of 6 in both senior football and hurling. So it takes 15 weeks to run the club championships in Westmeath as they're currently structured. You're right. There is a proposal going to Congress to move the All Irelands out to a couple of weeks into August, but Leinster also want to pull in the start of the provincial club championship, which means it's squeezing that window tighter and tighter for counties to complete their club championship. So there was the CCC were, I suppose, trying to gauge from clubs what the feeling was out there, and it was a very strong backing for the current format. But I foresee it's coming down the track that we may have no choice but to change. It's going to happen. Whether we all love the format of the championship at the moment. Teams get 5 championship games. You have a bad day, you can get back on track, and another day. I would speculate, and I use that word strongly, that Croke Park would like all counties to have a standardised club championship, that we're all doing the same thing. But I think that's not healthy either. I think counties should have their own autonomy when it comes to deciding what they want to do, and I don't like that approach from Croke Park, that top down. Counties should have the authority and the autonomy to decide what way they want to run their own. But the split season is that window for club championships is getting narrower and narrower. And we saw last year where we ended up with our county finals at the end of October. Like it's a big challenge for counties to have those county finals ready for the end of October. And there's the challenge with pitches at that time of the year as well. So there's lots in the mix up for discussion.
What's your feeling? I know we're not making any decision, but what's your feeling, Alan? You've been involved in senior challenger as manager and as player and stuff like that. Dennis, you the same thing as well. How do you like the format as it stands? 5 games and into the knockout after that, or?
Yeah, I love the format. I think the Westmeath Football Championship is probably one of the best ran championships in the country. The way it's worked out, especially with the Tier 2, where you have only 2 teams come out in Tier 1, 4 teams. No point in complaining. If you're not in Tier 1, it's your own fault that you're not in it, no more than ourselves. We got relegated last year, and we've no one to blame but ourselves that we got relegated. So, but I think it's a really, really well run championship. It is tough on the dual player. It's extremely tough on the dual player, and we would have a lot of them that they're out in a lot of games throughout the whole year. Like, the one thing we can't complain about in Westmeath is that we don't have enough games for our club players, because I think in football we all play 9 league matches, we play 7 league hurling matches, and then you're into 5 football matches and 5 hurling matches in the championship. So my own opinion is, if we're going to change anything to help out the dual player, I'd be reducing the amount of league matches in Division 1 and 2 and 3 that we play, because you need to give them a bit of a break. If you're going to try and give the dual player a break, why not do it in the league where we can work it that way? But as Brendan said, it's a tight window. If Leinster are pulling back their club championships to earlier, and the county are pushing back their county championships to later, that's if they both come back 2 weeks, that's taking a month off our fixtures. So something has to give there. I would say that I have no problem with the All-Ireland Championship moving back to August. I sort of like that idea, but I would say that Leinster need to keep their provincial championships, provincial club championships, at the same time as they have them all the time.
So I presume, Brendan, and the aim is to try and get all Ireland finals in the one calendar year.
Yeah, that's the thinking, that all competitions, all GA is wrapped up in the one calendar year. But we have so many games at intercounty level in football that there's the windows is, it's not possible. We're starting now with our national football leagues, and we've 6 rounds, 7 rounds, and there's a break then, and like the club championship is starting here generally in the second week in July to give us that 15 weeks to get to the end of October. But if we're squeezed back by Leinster, we can't start any earlier in our club championships, because we get a run in the hurling, or our county teams are involved.
Yeah.
We can't start our club championships until that's complete. So it's a huge challenge for everyone.
Yeah, so I'm not aware of what the other proposals were on the table on Friday night or whatever, but I know our senior football championships, or our championship format, has been the envy of a lot of counties around us and everything, and especially I think Offaly have kind of aligned with us, I think, for this year, because they didn't relegate anyone out of senior last year, and they promoted a team into it to get the same number of it. So, but I suppose player welfare has to be taken in. I know there's an issue with finances. There are dead rubber games in those 5-6 games, whatever is in the championship, that a team can lose 2 games and still qualify out of the top tier. So look, there's a lot of stuff up for discussion. Dennis, what you were feeling on it?
Well, I just know from playing in the championship, when you're in the top group, every game is so important, because all the teams are so strong, so you have to be in the top of your game. And vice versa, when you're in the bottom group, you always have that fear of relegation, so you don't take any game for granted. Like, it's a great championship, and I know from playing in it, I enjoyed every game that we played, because you always had to be well prepared for it. And I think if you even look at the games that are being played, the standard is very high. Everyone seems to have always has their best players out. Everyone seems to be ready for every single game. The team that goes down normally doesn't go down by much.
Yeah,
they could be still playing up, and vice versa. The team that goes up could go down as quick. It's. I find the championship in Westmeath, it should be the envy. I think all the other counties should be looking at saying this is the way it should be run, because, the last number of years, the teams that have come out of even Westmeath have done very well in Leinster championships. We think of the Downs getting to Leinster finals a few years ago. I know we were in Leinster finals in 2000. I look at Gary Castle got to All Ireland finals, like so.
Even Tubber
St.
there this year,
Lomans,
St. Lomans,
Lomans, yeah.
get progressing.
You'd have to think Westmeath are doing things right in that regard.
Jerry, your opinion on it? Have you?
I wouldn't change a thing.
Right. That's simple as. Simple as. Look, lads, again, that was something that just came up on last Friday night. Not something that just came up. It was obviously well planned by the county executive that they have to have plans in place going forward as well. And, you know, they have lots of headaches and, you know, lots more coming by the sounds of things too as well. We're going to finish up just to remind everybody voting for your player of the week. The 3 nominees, Johnny Lynham, Luke Loughlin, Sam McCartan. So get voting on that there. Let's see, you know, get behind your own club man or whatever it is, get them in, and we'll be announcing the results on Wednesday night. One mention I just want to give before we finish up, and I think last Monday night Pat O'Brien, you know, mentioned the cars and how well they'd done in Ireland's for his family, and just another family, just something that came to me on over the weekend was the McCartans. And I was talking to the dad, Pat, who was up in Letterkenny with his 2 daughters playing with Westmeath ladies, and 2 sons playing down here in Cusick Park. I mean, that's a fair achievement. I don't think there's too many families, you know, in Ireland that are able to say that they have, you know, a double on both.
He is a bigger problem than Jerry going to one or the other, doesn't he?
And I have to say, I thought Danny McCartan had a very useful game yesterday, and had a useful game too in Newbridge, and has more or less consolidated his place in the Westmeath team. We talk a lot about Sam, but I think Danny has made a big contribution.
Yeah, I know. But just talking to him on Saturday and Sunday, like you just said, it's, you know, it's a fair dilemma. I think Pat himself, the dad, followed the 2 girls yesterday, and the mother, I think, was following the 2 lads. So you know, all's equal in love and war. But anyway, well done to them. Look, we're going to finish up, lads. Thanks very much for joining me here tonight, Alan, Brendan, Denis and Gerry. We will be back next week, where we'll be looking back on the 2 games, the football and the hurling. Please God, I'll make it down as far as Tralee if I can get into a spare car there on the way down, but we'll hopefully do that. I want to thank Tom Browne, our producer, and just on one other little thing now, and he'll really thank me for this, but on camera tonight, Gavin, and just to let everyone know out there that he has reached that age that he now has qualified for the free travel. So his birthday today, so big brother, happy birthday to you. Hope you enjoy the rest of it. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.